We are live. Sorry, my internet is, super awesome here in Montana.
Seems like there's a little bit of a delay there.
There was a delay. I was like,
Stretching
okay,
it up.
stretching it out. We're live. Dawn here with Romance Happy Hour, and of course, joined by Miss Dylann Crush, the awesome Dylann Crush. Glad to see her back for like a second show now. She was gone the time before. You were at a conference, right?
No.
No, the time before, yeah.
Last time I was here, the time before that, I was at a funeral, Dawn, not a
Oh,
conference.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I gotta say, like, you go to so many conferences, though. I always think that that's where you're at. Like, she's always on the go to book signings, conferences.
Oh, I don't know about that. But yeah, I've been here last time and this time. And then I'll be here for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, awesome.
So
Me too. Yeah.
good. And you survived. So
I did.
Diane and Finley are joining us tonight, but hello, welcome. We're so glad you're here.
Yeah.
But yeah, everyone was waiting to see if Dawn would pass out because she did like this massive Spartan race thing this past weekend, and
I did the 10K Spartan race. That is definitely, I've never done a 10K in my life, and of course, we decided to do that the first time with the Spartan race. We made it in 3 hours and 19 minutes, which I'm okay with that time because it was like straight up and down mountains and like up and down, up and down. And of course the obstacles. And I am not a runner. Like my sister, I did it with my sister and my husband, and they're all super in shape, super runners. And I'm just like trailing behind. But I brought my inhaler because I have asthma. My knee brace and the little extra oxygen tank. So I did not die, and I think I'm gonna say thank you to the oxygen tank that I brought. I'm like quite often, babe, you want a hit of this? You want some oxygen?
I'm very impressed.
Yeah,
I
it
would
was a lot
still
of fun.
be like on the side of the mountain
Yeah.
in a puddle
I
in the
have
fetal
bruises.
position.
I have bruises in places I shouldn't have bruises, but my husband even today was like, "Babe, what's wrong with your arms?" I'm like, "It's the Spartan race, dude." Like that's what happened to me.
A good battle wound.
Yeah, for sure. But it was fun, and now my husband's like, "Let's do the 14-mile one." So I'm like, "Oh god."
Yeah, I'm just impressed you finished. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't run ever.
I am too, but they give you beer at the end. So we got about halfway through and we're like, let's do this for the beer. And then we just kept cheering each other on for the only 2 more miles and we get a beer. So that's kind of what happened. So that was our
I don't even
motivator.
think I would have wanted a beer at the end of
Yeah.
that.
Oh, you do. You're like, fuck you. I mean, see?
Oh my God. Seriously. Really? I mean, 3 minutes in, Dawn. 3 minutes in.
I'm a sailor. I'm sorry. Okay, I'm sorry. I meant bleep, yeah. Rewind. I'm sorry, Dylan. I owe you.
I
Yeah,
think
let's
from
have
now
that
on,
beer.
every time Dawn says a curse word, she owes me a drink.
Or we should do like a swear jar. We should do a swear jar. I mean, I could take one right now.
$100 every time you say a swear word. You have to send me $100.
I think a quarter is sufficient.
Quarter? You can't even buy a gumball for a quarter
$1.
anymore.
$1.
I mean, not that I'd want to buy a gumball anymore, but yes,
Yeah.
F-bomb already. Yes.
I know. I'm
from
sorry.
Dawn.
I'm so
It's all right.
sorry. Dang it.
Well, we should
So,
probably welcome our guests.
yes. So we are here. We are joined by Diane Wiggs and Finley Brown. Welcome, ladies. How are you doing?
Good. Thank you for having us.
Yes,
Yep,
thanks
thank
for
you.
coming and joining us. We're very excited. Before we go into that, Dylan, what are you working on? I know I just did the Spartan race, but
Yes. What am I working on? I'm working on book boxes are going out this weekend. The Second Chance Romance Happy Hour Second Chance book boxes are going out, and then I just announced the next one is Romance Happy Hour Bad Boy book box.
ooh,
And
bad boys.
I'm super excited because it has, well, 2 of my favorite authors, Erin Nicholas and Claire Marty. So we've got
Oh,
those
I love
coming up.
Claire. Yeah.
So that's going to be fun. And then other than that, writing,
Mhm.
writing, and more writing.
Yeah. Cool. I just have to say this real quick because I do have to plug it because there's only an hour left. Go and join and vote for me for Super Mom. There's only 1 hour left, and I'm like behind Sheila because she dropped a ton of money on her votes and haven't been able to catch up yet. So go vote for me. So maybe I can get that one vote over. Anyways, that's it. That's my plug for tonight. Yeah. So, ladies, what are you working on? Tell us what you're giving away, what you're reading from. If you have a book cover, they love to see those. But if not, that's cool. We'll pop it in the comments later. But Diane, you are going first tonight. So why don't you go first now?
All right. Well, hi, everyone. Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm currently working on book 4 of my Ashwood Blues series. It's in revisions. Hopefully it'll be out end of summer-ish. So yeah, I'm giving away an e-copy of Suspect My Heart, which is book 1 in the series. And it's police officers in a small town with strong-willed women, and they complicate their cases and steal their hearts. So
yeah,
I'm going to read from book 2, which is Jim and Liz. And then
is he a police officer as well? Because
they are all police officers in this series in the Ashwood Blues.
Oh, I love it though.
Yeah.
Small town police officer, love it. So, they're hot.
Yeah, I write them hot. I hope everyone thinks they're as hot as I do. So I think they're pretty sexy. So yeah, the everyday heroes, you know.
Yeah,
that's why I like to write.
Sure.
So.
And do you have any big plans coming up for Mother's Day?
Mother's Day. Well, I'm a grandma now, so
I know. I was going to say that.
So I don't know what we're doing on Mother's Day, actually, for sure, because now that, you know, my son has a little one, I'm sure they'll be doing stuff there too. So we hope to see them. We saw them this week for dinner. So I'm sure just relax and read and write. And weekends are kind of more my writing time. I get a little in at night, but that's more my big when I really like to sit down and get the words out. So I'm sure I'll be, if it's my day, that's what I'll want to do. And not cook. They cook for me.
Good.
Oh, yay.
They made me, what'd they make me? Belgian waffles one time. Was it last year or the year before? And it was hilarious. Yum. It was hilarious watching my husband and son cook for me. So
now, was that breakfast or dinner? Belgian waffles?
That was breakfast. They took me out for dinner. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. I love a good breakfast in bed on Mother's Day, but I also love a good breakfast for dinner. So I mean, either way, I was okay with that. The answer to that question. So
yeah. Yep. So.
And what about you, Finley?
I am currently working on a billionaire new series for me called Circle of Kings. And so that's going well, and a few anthologies that I'm in. And the book that I'm giving away is the first book in my series called The Watch. And The Watch is about a secret. Most of my books take place in Britain, UK, Scotland. My mom's Scottish, so I have like an absolute love for Scotland. And we have family there. I've been over many, many times. So The Watch is a secret assassin group that was like imagined out of the Black Watch, which, you know, dates back all the way to the 1700s. But this is like a modern day version. And they work for somebody really high up in the government. I won't say who, but I'm going to be reading from the second book called Found. So.
Oh, fun. Yay. That sounds awesome. I love a good mystery, crime, assassin. Like, I love that. I love it.
Suspense.
Yeah. Romantic suspense. Yeah.
Well, and that's funny that both of our authors tonight, because we don't ever plan it. I mean, we just, you know, authors get to pick a date that's available. And so it's funny that both of you kind of write romantic suspense and on that kind of, that side of things. So.
And then for Mother's Day, I just had my Mother's Day because my youngest, all three of my children live in California. We live in Austin, Texas. We have a house out there. So all of them went to go live rent free in the house. But my youngest came this week to see me. He's headed off to Europe for 7 weeks on a European tour, but he just graduated college, and he came out and we went camping for a few days and just had an absolute blast.
Oh, fun.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, we both lived in Texas. Dylan's actually from Texas, so
Where?
like
Dallas Fort Worth area.
Okay.
So
yeah. Yep, and I lived in Houston, the armpit of Texas. So yeah.
Yeah. I split a lot of time between California and Texas.
Yeah.
We have a place on the beach, so it's pretty nice. It's a great place to work. So.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Diane,
think
That's great.
backwards. You should be living in California on the beach, and your kids should be living in
It
Texas.
is the goal, but my husband's close to retirement, and he's not going to get a new job. He's riding this one out into the sunset. So we're here. They're there. It will switch.
And Diane, you don't have to answer this if you don't want to, but where are you at?
I'm in Minnesota. I'm
right, that's
actually
right.
not that far from Dylann. So yeah. It's like south of the Twin Cities. So
So do you also call it Minnesota?
I don't actually call it that, but yeah, it kind of is. I'm born and raised here, so unlike Dylann, who's a transplant, to me it's just normal.
Yeah.
So you're gonna
what I
have
was gonna
2
say.
stupid cold weeks in the winter and 2 super hot weeks in the summer, and the rest is just kind of what it is. So
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I get that. We just stopped the snow about a week ago, or well, 2 weeks ago, maybe 3. But yeah, in Montana.
I think that's similar here. We get it a day or 2 after you.
Yeah.
It's been in rain mode lately.
Yep.
Okay with that.
That's here too, because it's great here because then it helps lessen the forest fires, because we have like snow, then we have like a month of spring, and then we have like 2 months of summer, and then we have fire season. And fire season ends at winter. So
Yeah, I don't know. I think we all need to move to Hawaii, is what I think.
yeah, let's do
Okay.
that. Yeah.
In.
Yeah.
Like-
Well, so Miss Diane, you agreed to go first.
Yes.
So do you need to set up the scene or
Yeah, I probably should.
Okay.
So, I'm reading from book 2, Protect My Heart, which is Jim and Liz. Jim is a detective, and he has a murder case where the witness is a young boy, and so Liz is a child psychologist, child advocate, and she steps in because she's home to help the family friend and advocate for him. So this scene actually, she was a little off at dinner. He was invited to dinner, and it was a family dinner. And so he follows her down the hall after dinner and asks her what's going on, and she's of course nothing. So I'm starting with her. So that's where we're starting. Actually, I'm gonna read on my phone. It'll be easier for me. So okay. Crap. Why was Jim here? Tonight of all nights. She could conceal her nerves from Joy and Mark. CJ was a little harder, but he was distracted by Lorna and the children. But Detective Swenson was another story. She hadn't fooled him one bit. The last thing she wanted was him digging into her past or telling CJ she was hiding something. She never could keep things from her cousin. He stepped into the big brother role when hers had died. She leaned against the wall in fake nonchalance. Before she could think of a convincing lie, he reached out, pulled her hand from her pocket, and held it out. Then tell me why you're trembling. I know I'm irresistible, but I doubt it's my animal magnetism that has you shaking. His thumb caressed her hand as his eyes searched hers for an answer she didn't want to give. She snorted a laugh at his comment, but he waited, still caressing, still waiting. No way could she lie convincingly. I received a strange call on my way home. That's all. What kind of call? His grip on her fingers tightened, not bruising but firm. Of course he would ask questions. He was a cop, a dang good one from what she could tell. Just a crank call, someone's idea of a bad joke. It must have riled me more than I thought if you noticed. His brow raised. Ah, crud. He didn't believe her. She slipped her hand from his and folded her arms across her chest. Really, it was nothing. Nothing? His intense dark eyes searched hers before slowly traversing the length of her body and back up again. If you say so. You won't mind me telling CJ about your crank call, will you? You can't. She dropped her arms and lunged forward, catching herself before she grabbed his button-down shirt. I mean, we don't want to bother him. He's so busy with work, and his daughter Callie, and Lorna, you know. Jim closed the distance between them, taking the precious inch of space she used as a buffer. He bent down until his face loomed inches from hers. He probably meant it to be intimidating, but it wasn't. She wanted to stretch the last few inches and touch her lips with his. Her body swayed. Her blinks slowly. Her blinks slowed to the point of her eyes closing. Just one more. You're so full of crap. What? Her eyes flew open. The smirk on his face was too dang sexy. She wanted to slap it off. It wasn't a crank call. You know it, and I know it. Your body is wound so tight I could bounce a quarter off you. His hand feathered over her hair and came before coming to rest on her shoulder. If you don't want CJ to know, you better start talking. That's blackmail. No, that's being a good cop. CJ's my partner and you're his cousin. I'd be remiss if I didn't take care of you. She scrunched her eyes as she contemplated his reply. I think you're sticking that big nose of yours in where it doesn't belong. I'm fine, and there's no reason to worry my cousin. Well, maybe I'll hang around and make sure everything really is fine. Liz started to slip beside him, but he bracketed her in. Or maybe I just like hanging around you. His eyes bore into hers as his words stopped her retreat. You are just. The feel of his warm breath on her face stopped her words. Inhaling, she caught the faint woodsy scent. Rich and tangy. Her eyes focused on those tantalizing lips inches from hers. Before she could register a conscious thought, he pulled away, the rush of cool air jolting her back to reality. So, what's it gonna be? You tell me what's going on, or you just got yourself a new shadow? Dang, the cocky look he wore was justified. The jerk hadn't even kissed her. Just his close proximity had all logic leaving her brain. No way had she wanted to tell him about her father. But while she would love to see what would happen if his lips actually touched hers, the last thing she needed was to get involved with the detective in charge of her case. Louise must come first. Maybe she could tell him. He already knew her father was in prison. She glanced over her shoulder to make sure the others weren't close, then grabbed his hand and pulled him down the hall to the study. Liz slipped her purse off the entry table as she passed. Inside the beautifully appointed room, she dropped her purse on the leather sofa and crossed to the side table. She uncorked the decanter, letting the rich aroma of the barrel-aged whiskey fill her nose. She raised the bottle and offered to pour him a drink. When he declined, she replaced the stopper and turned to face him. He stood in the middle of the elegant room, all raw masculine beauty. His scent lingered in the air. The urge to bury her nose in his neck and inhale his intoxicating smell was strong. He smelled way better than the 12-year-old liquor. Get it together, Liz. She squared her shoulders and put it on her clinical expression. You know my father is in prison. He nodded. I received a call on my way home tonight. She shoved her hands in her pockets to hide the trembling. The caller used an endearment my father always called me. You sure it wasn't your father? I wasn't at first, not until I opened the letter. She swallowed back the lump forming in her throat. What letter? He asked with a knowing look. The bastard. The one that came from a correctional facility the other day. I thought it was about his parole hearing, which is coming up, was coming up. It was a notice of his death. The onslaught of tears stung her eyes. Liz dropped her head, trying to hide the rapid blinks that would put a hummingbird to shame. Her frantic eye calisthenics stayed the waterworks, and she silently counted to 3 before she turned to face him. I need to collect his things. Jim rubbed a hand over his jaw. Unless her father was a zombie, he couldn't dial a phone. He was probably chilling in the morgue. Either the crank caller had supernatural powers, or sexy little Doc picked herself up a stalker. When did your father die? She pulled the letter from her purse and unfolded it. January 10th. And it took 4 weeks to notify you? That seems long, even for the government. I was in Florida until 2 weeks ago. It took a few days to drive up and arrived last week. The letter was forwarded to me here. Okay, so what else does it say? Moving closer, he looked over her shoulder to scan the letter. Dang, she smelled of lilacs. His parents' home had the fragrant bushes all around their yard. With one quick sniff, he was transported back to baseball games in the backyard with his siblings and the neighbor kids. Doc was the only woman to heat his blood while she induced comforting memories. What a strange feeling. Jim cleared his head. He almost kissed her, and now, Christ, he was sniffing the woman's hair. Had he lost his mind? I'll stop there. So that's a little bit about Jim and Liz.
Love it.
Very nice.
Yeah. I gotta be honest. So, the cop in our town. I live in a very small town in Montana. There's about I think there's 800 people now. There was 700 a couple days ago, or last year. Last year, a couple days
Really
ago.
small.
Yellowstone. It was just, last year there was 800 people. When we moved in, our cop's name is TJ. So I was like, oh,
Oh,
CJ,
funny.
TJ, so close. But yeah, loved it.
Thank you.
We do have a couple questions if we want to do a couple questions
Sure.
in between. And I don't know who this is, if this is Linda
No.
or Facebook user.
Yeah, I was on there trying to figure out who it was.
I know. I'm not sure who it is. StreamYard gets very finicky about showing people's names. But question, and we'll have both of you answer. Diane, if you want to go first, since you just read, that would be great. Who has had the biggest impact on the person you have become? We are starting off super deep. So
Yeah, that is deep.
we're diving in. Yep.
Who has had the biggest impact of the person I've become? Well, are you talking writing wise or in general? Actually, it's the same answer pretty much for both. My mother. And it's not just because Mother's Day is coming. She was a big reason why I started reading as much as I did and started writing. And she passed away before she ever knew I wrote, but she was one of the main driving forces in, I think, all of her kids' lives, but definitely in mine. So, yeah.
I'm going to mimic Diane. I'm sorry. It's the exact same thing. It's my mother. And like I said, I write so much of my stories take place in Scotland, England. And she was an amazing woman. And she passed away 8 years ago, right before I published my first book. But I know she's up there looking down and my biggest cheerleader.
Yep.
For sure.
That's awesome.
I have
What
a
about
quick
you,
question.
Dylan? Oh, go ahead.
Finley, do you find yourself putting, or any of you, do you find yourself putting little Easter eggs that you don't even realize you're putting in? Like, I have little
100%.
things, and my sister will read my book and go, that was mom. Oh, this one was mom. And she'll catch it. And I don't even know I put them in.
100%. I mean, I do think, like, people say, like, some people say their characters are just totally fictional. Like, my characters definitely have essence of me and things I know or things I love, or definitely. So yes, there are Easter eggs that only certain family members would pick up on.
Mm-hmm. What about you, Diane?
Oh, totally. I totally do that. I didn't even realize until, I guess I knew I was putting it in because it was, you know, how you write part of what you know.
Yep.
And I have a line in book 1, and my sister's like, the last pan that you have to set timer, you burn the cookies. That's mom. And I said, yes, that was mom. And I have just little things like that, that I just, things of life that come to your mind when you're writing if you envision it. It was a single mom character in book 1, and so a lot of those little things come up.
Mm-hmm.
So, but we should go back to the question about for you guys about the who's inspired you.
Yeah.
That's a hard
That's the biggest.
question. And since we're the hosts, I don't think we have to answer any questions
Oh,
that we don't want
Dylann.
to.
Oh, Dylann doesn't want to answer. Oh,
I don't know. I'd have to think about that. I mean, that's a hard question.
I'll answer. I'll have to say my husband. Like, he's the one that actually got me writing, because he's like, well, I mean, I probably told this story, but I smuggled in my 200th book into the house, and he caught me. And we were like, it was like early in our marriage, so we didn't have money for me to be spending on books, but I did it anyways. And he's like, you should be writing us these books and making us money instead of spending all of our money on them. And I thought, you know what? I can. So I hid it from him for the next, year or so of me writing my book in the background. But after that, like, yeah, I wrote, and then it kind of snowballed from there. So I would say my husband, my mom too. Yes. I mean, with Mother's Day around the corner, everybody's mom kind of, I think,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I hope anyways. I guess there are some people whose mom don't inspire them, but a good mom will. So my mom and my husband, I would say. What about you, Dylann?
Yeah, I don't know. I say my parents.
Mm-hmm.
They always encourage me to, shoot for the stars, and we're always super supportive and had my back. So yeah, I would say probably my mom and my dad.
Yeah.
So
And I just have to say, Deanna, she did just now. I made her do it. Deanna said, since when have you never answered any one of the questions, Dylann?
That was a hard question.
It was deep. I loved it.
All right. Okay, let's see. I was up here where I was by the questions. Okay. Facebook user strikes again. Where do you get your ideas?
And I think that is Karen, not Karen.
I think it's Linda.
Linda. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's Linda. So, you want to go first, Diane, just because you...
Oh, man. Where do I get my ideas? They just come to me. And normally when I'm in the middle of doing something else or can't, or in the middle of like I had an idea the other day for a book that I'm not ready to write for 3 more books, but it came to me and I jotted it down because I was like, oh, yes, that character, yes. And I think it was the name popped into my head. I saw it. I was doing something on the computer and a name popped up and I'm like, that'd be a cool name for it. Next thing you know, it's like the scene that describes this person just popped into my head. So it's hard to say. I think they kind of formulate from all over the place. I don't necessarily go looking for them, if that makes sense.
Yeah. After a bottle of wine, I have great ideas. I don't know.
Notice she said a bottle and not a glass. I like it.
I did pick up on that.
I did say a bottle of wine. I don't know, because sometimes I write stuff that's really dark, and then I'm like, oh my gosh, what's my family going to think when they read this?
Yeah.
And you're sitting there going like, wow. I don't know. I think there's always just in life. I think life gives you ideas sometimes.
Yeah.
And wine.
And wine. I like that.
I don't remember what book it was I read. It was something about bees. But and it was not a romance, but it was like one of those fiction books when you were younger, And I remember reading an interview that they did on the author's son, to the author's son, and they said, how did your mom come up with the idea for this? And he said she was doing the dishes, and she came up with this idea, and she just had to sit down and write it. And I don't know, like I said, I don't even remember the book or the author. I know it was about bees, And and then she came up with it at doing the dishes, and that's
But that
what stuck with
makes
me.
sense because
Yeah.
sometimes when you're doing the mundane things in life, you're physically doing something, and then your brain has time to just create. You know,
Yeah,
you can do those
absolutely.
dishes and laundry and still just percolate stuff up there.
Yep.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I agree. All right. Let me find one more. And then, and also Sarah said, happy belated birthday to Dawn. So
Oh,
yes,
thank you.
we should have sang to you, but nobody wants to hear that.
No, it's okay. My mom sang to me yesterday.
Oh, it is Linda. Okay, great. All right, let me see. Oh, no questions tonight from Karen. Wow.
I know.
Okay, I think we are good for questions. I'm scrolling. So yeah, I think we're good for questions for now. So yeah, we can go ahead and hear from Finley, and then I'm going to count on those who are watching live to give us a couple more questions.
Yeah,
So
pop in a
Finley is
couple
done.
questions. for
Okay.
sure.
Add them to the comments, and we'll get to those after.
Yeah.
A little nervous. Let me just start this. I'm starting at the very beginning of a book, so it should be easy. And every year in Scotland, they have something called the Fringe or the Festival. And this is on the last night. It's a big arts festival encompassing all the arts. And so this is starting on after the festival is over late at night. So it takes place in Edinburgh. Time has a funny way of presenting itself in life. One spends most of their days thinking they don't have enough of it, only to be stopped short by the moments in which it seems to stand still. A brief moment suspended along the continuity of one's existence, usually brought about by great happiness or the perception of extreme danger. This was the latter, fear. She stood there, unable to move, paralyzed as if the absoluteness of what she just witnessed ceased to exist. The rational part of her mind told her to run, but instead she remained frozen, taking in the small, minute details around her. The bar stools knocked over, the light shining off the splinters of broken glass, the pattern of blood splattered along the wall, the steel gray eyes of the killer as his pupils constricted to mere pinpoints. Run. She wasn't supposed to be here. This wasn't her reality. This experience was for someone else. This was their pause in existence, not hers. A crash at the door started the ticking of the clock. Someone was shouting in Russian, "Niet, niet, run." She turned, sprinting through a small kitchen in the back of the building as fast as her legs would carry her, and out a back door into an alley. The unusually warm air, fetid with the reek of rotting trash, assaulted her, thick and suffocating. Run, she told herself. She kicked her high heels off and made her way down the narrow street. This part of the city was dodgy. People were more interested in keeping to themselves than in helping someone. She turned down a dark street to the left and bumped into a skimpily clad woman. "Watch it, bitch," the lady said before disappearing in an alcove. Faster, she must move faster. She could hear him behind her. His footsteps echoed off the cobblestones. Her lungs burned from the exertion, and a stitch had formed in her side, but she couldn't stop. He was getting closer. A barricade of rubbish bins and old boxes blocked her way up ahead. She jumped over a short crate and fell, landing with a thud. Pain radiated up her arm. Please, not like this, she thought. I can't end like this. The footsteps were getting closer. She scrambled to her feet and held her injured wrist protectively, looking around. There was nowhere to go. It was a dead end. She turned slowly, facing her assailant. "Please don't kill me," she begged. He stepped closer. "You weren't supposed to be there." She kept her eyes on him until the darkness took her and the irreversible succession of time ended. Charlie was alive. Her head felt like it had been split in two, but she was alive. Gagged and blindfolded, hands and feet bound, she lay in darkness. She knew she was in the back of a trunk, the movements of the car a silent lullaby, composing a heinous requiem of the senses in every twist and turn of the road. Her wrist throbbed, but there was no way for her to adjust her body to relieve the constant ache. The smell of urine, sweat, and fear filled the small, dank space. She had wet herself. The dampness between her legs was cold. Its stench was thick and acrid and as oppressive as her restraints. Never go to a second location. She had learned that in a self-defense class she took in college. The second you get into a car, you are dead, and the things your abductor will do to you before you die will be far worse. Tears slid down her cheeks, soaking the cloth tied around her face. She had been so stupid, and she deserved this. It was, in sense, divine retribution. The darkness sang out to her. It was easier there, simple in its aphotic beauty, devoid of light or hope. She went to it, letting it sing her to sleep. She awoke sometime later, nauseous and disorientated. The car had come to a stop, and she could hear footsteps outside. This was her second location, her final resting place unless she could find a way to escape. The door of the trunk opened, and the rough hands of her kidnapper picked her up. He placed her over his shoulder, carrying her. Cool air brushed her skin, sending a shiver up her spine. She was no longer in Edinburgh, with its late summer heat wave. She heard a door open and close, then the steady thud of his shoes on the wooden floor, the heavy cadence resounding the despairing rhythm of a death march. A dog barked in the distance. He placed her down on a soft mattress, and the blindfold was removed. She looked up into eyes as cold as icy granite. He took off his suit jacket and set it on a chair, pulling a knife from a leather holster strapped across his chest. Tears streamed down her face, and she found herself unable to move, helpless as panic coursed through her. Dear God, this was it. The blade came toward her, and she closed her eyes, awaiting its piercing blow. But instead of stabbing her, he cut the duct tape around her wrists and ankles. The pain in her injured left arm intensified as the blood slowly returned to it. She held it against her chest and bit back the whimper that threatened to escape as she pushed herself with her legs along the top of the bed, putting as much space between her and the man as she could. He opened a drawer on the nightstand and removed a pair of handcuffs, attaching one end to the headboard. A small voice inside her told her to fight, or at least die trying. This might be her only chance. As he reached toward her, she struck out at him with her foot, landing a side kick squarely to his chest. Unfazed by the blow, he grabbed her leg in one of his large hands. His fingers dug into her muscle. Don't try that again, he said, his voice low and menacing as his eyes continued to pierce hers. He clipped the other end of the cuffs around her right wrist and ripped the tape from her mouth as he pressed a finger to her lips, arching a brow. Don't scream, he warned, shaking his head to emphasize the seriousness of the situation. Unable to hold his gaze, she looked down. Don't kill me, she pleaded. Her voice, cracked from disuse, sounded hoarse and chafed. She wasn't sure why she bothered saying it, only she was desperate. He continued to study her, not answering. She looked around the room, trying to take in all the details in case she had a chance to escape. He hadn't killed her yet, and her only goal was to survive. The room was dark, its only window covered in a thick black drape. Besides the large bed and chair, there was a dresser and antique wardrobe. Her eyes kept coming back to her abductor. His looks were disconcerting. She placed him in his mid-30s. The man had a handsome face comprised of a sharp, straight nose, high cheekbones, and a strong jaw. He was tall and muscular, his shoulders broad and his waist narrow. His dark brown hair was neatly styled, and the suit he wore expensive. He didn't fit her image of a murderer, and it was hard to imagine the soul of a killer lives just beneath the skin of someone so beautifully made. I promise I won't say anything about what I saw if you'll let me go. I promise I won't say anything. She was rambling. Shock and fear were setting in. He would kill her, she had no doubt. She was a witness. Psh, hold your tongue. He reached out and grabbed her chin, tilting her head to the side as he slowly ran the knife down the length of her neck. Hot tears mixed with the mucus running from her nose. The tip of his blade, cold and sharp, silenced her instantly. Good girl, he said, slipping the knife back into its holster. He walked over to where his jacket lay and pulled a starch white handkerchief from the front pocket. Then ever so gently, he began to clean her face as one would a small child. What's your name? He asked. His deep voice cut through the darkness of the room. Charlie, she stuttered. Is that short for something? Charlotte. Last name? Lie, she told herself. If he knew her name, he could find her family and harm them. Adams. It was her ex-fiancé's name, the first one besides her own that she could think of on the spot. Charlotte Adams. He pronounced her name Charlotte, the Scottish way. Where are you from, lass? America. There was no use lying. He would know by her accent. He gave her a long, hard look. Then he shook his head and left, locking the bedroom door behind himself. She listened as another door slammed and the engine of a car started up. Her tears came in sobs as she curled into herself. She tried not to let her mind drift to Michael. This was her punishment for leaving him at the altar. She would never see him or her family again. The darkness was close, calling her name. She would find refuge there. Slowly, she let herself submit to it, drifting into a restless sleep. That's it.
Holy cow.
That's
Oh
a
my
beginning.
gosh, I loved it. So, is he the hero?
He ends up being the hero.
Okay.
She was in the wrong place
I'm
at the wrong time. That's all I'm giving away. I mean, it's very evident come the next chapter, but
Okay.
wrong place, wrong time.
I mean, the way you were describing him, I was like, I need him to be the hero.
Yeah,
because
well, he's an anti-hero for sure.
Okay,
He has
and
tons of flaws. I love a good anti-hero.
yeah, for real.
Wounded and flawed.
The best kind, like the Phantom of the Opera.
Yeah,
you know?
exactly.
All right. Well, we did get quite a few questions. Challenge
saw
was
that.
accepted. So, yes. All right. I'm going to come back to you, Linda. We're going to skip around a little bit here.
Do Dottie's.
Sarah.
So you're doing Dottie's. Okay.
No, I haven't made it down to Dottie's yet. Sarah wants to know, Finley, where do you want to travel to?
I've been to a lot of places, and I have not been to the Amalfi Coast down in the Mediterranean, so I would love to go there. 100%.
I could go for a trip there. How about you, Dawn?
I could go for a trip anywhere other than America. I mean, I've
Yeah.
been all over America. I think we've got like 47 states, but
Oh wow!
I've got
What are you missing?
No, you got it.
like Vermont and Hawaii.
Okay.
And
I mean, if you were
Michigan.
I don't understand how you missed Vermont. If you were all up there around Vermont, how did you not even just kind of
I know,
swerve into Vermont?
We just never swerved. I mean, it was
okay.
It was
I can understand Hawaii. Michigan is still a little really.
I mean, yeah, Michigan is up there, kind of out of the way. You don't travel through it, so.
I was just there at a book signing. We drove from Austin to Michigan.
Yeah.
In 24 hours straight.
Yeah.
Wow.
See, I've been to Alaska and Hawaii, which I think are probably the two difficult ones. But I haven't been to a lot of those little tiny states. I mean, up in the Northeast, I haven't been to Maine or any of those. How many states have you guys been to? Do you even know? I mean, I guess if I'd been to 47, I could rattle that off. But I have no idea how many states I've been to off the top of my head.
I'm missing a few, like you said, Maine, New Hampshire, Vermont, some in that area, and then Kentucky. I've been all around Kentucky, but for some reason I've never made it through Kentucky.
Oh my gosh, that's funny.
How about you,
Alaska? I've never been to Alaska either. That's a huge one.
I'd
Literally,
like to go to Alaska one of these days.
My reason for going to Alaska was not good, so you don't want to go to Alaska for the reason I had to go to Alaska. It was not a good reason, but I did get to scratch it off the list.
There you go.
I'm sorry, Diane. What were you saying?
Oh no, I just I have not been to the West Coast. I've been to Utah and Arizona and that, and I have not been to the upper East Coast. But other than that, I think I've hit most of them. There's a couple little southern ones. I'm trying to think if I've driven through at least. I think mostly, yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I'm going to give you a little hint about Alaska, Diane. So they call the Alaskan Marine Highway the poor man's, what's that called? Cruise, the poor man's cruise. So poor man's Alaskan cruise, because you can pay just to walk onto it, onto the ferry. and then you can tent camp on top of it.
No.
So or sleep under the stars as you're going, and it's about a week long to go up and then like back down. So
Oh,
like you
wow.
could get a like a week long cruise. I
Er.
mean, you don't get all the
I want
well
a
in the
cruise.
summertime it's great, right? You get all the northern lights and stuff ahead of you
Yeah.
up
Do
there.
they
Plus
feed
dinner with
you?
the captain.
What's that?
Do they
Dinner with
feed
the
you?
captain at his table, like a full formal dinner.
Yeah,
Right.
you don't get all the amenities. Like, I mean, you could literally just they have a restaurant there, but they don't feed you, no. So you would have to buy your food or bring your food. But yeah, like you can just walk onto the you can pay for like just your body to walk onto the Alaska Marine Highway and then
Mm-hmm.
take the cruise all the way up and then right back down and just
Wow.
see all the
I
coast of
never knew that.
Alaska and Canada.
That's
Wow.
cool.
Yeah, I
That's
never knew
cool.
that. That's awesome.
I
That way
didn't
you
No.
can
either.
do
I
that.
wish you had told me that like 30 years ago,
I'm
Dawn.
sorry. Well, I didn't know 30
Yeah.
years ago.
I probably would have done it 20, 30 years ago, camped
I
and done all
mean,
that. But now I'm like, nope, give me the big cruise ship with all you can eat buffets. Thank you very much.
yeah. I
And
just
the actual like bed with a mattress.
yeah. Well,
Yeah.
you can get that too on there. You can get a room on
Oh, you
the
can. Okay.
ferry. Yes. We
That
got
that
the
makes it a
room.
little more appealing.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, we got a 6 bunk. Well, we got a well, it fit all of us and there's like 6 of us. So 3, 4 bunks or whatever room. Yeah,
Okay.
you can get rooms.
Interesting. You've been
Um
holding out on us. You should
yeah.
start writing about frugal vacations.
Yeah, yeah. You can tent camp, you can just sleep in like the seats on
Ooh,
the deck or whatever or yeah. Um
See, and
interesting.
but
I'm a
I just want
camper
to
in a camper.
yeah.
Right.
I like to camp in a
You can
camper.
take your camper on there, but
I've
they
done
won't let you
tenting,
stay
but
in it. Yeah.
oh yeah, no.
Yeah. Yeah. Um Dylan, I just want to point out you said you should have told me that 40 years, 30 years ago.
I said 30 years ago.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
I would have been 11. So
Shut up. Okay. Moving right along. Linda wants to know something a little lighter. I don't know, Linda. This could be a loaded question. This might not
Mhm.
be lighter. What is your biggest addiction? How about Finley? You go
Oh,
first. since-
This is like so embarrassing. A sausage egg McMuffin breakfast
Oh,
with a hash
love
brown
it.
and a Diet Coke.
Oh,
Yum.
don't be embarrassed about that.
To my house, and like I'm looking to see if any neighbor sees as I pull the package in. 100%.
I've been
That's
there.
funny.
Oh wow.
I've been there, but don't
Embarrassing.
be ashamed.
Own
I'm
it.
ashamed, but I admit it. That is my biggest addiction, besides wine.
Right.
But
You heard it here first.
Yeah.
Have you ever tried to have
Oh,
wine
that's
with
funny.
your sausage egg McMuffin with hash brown?
no, that would be very early drinking, and then I would have a problem and addiction.
Just curious. Just curious.
Yeah.
All right,
Or
Diane, how
late
about you?
night. Diane, what about you?
There we go.
Uh-oh. Are we losing
Is she
Diane?
here? Yeah, I think.
Am I here now? I'm like
Yeah.
I just went weird and came back. Sorry.
Okay.
I don't know. Are you here? You never left for us. Did you?
Oh, okay. You guys blinked out for me. Everyone blinked out and came back. So I
Weird.
don't
It's
know.
not me.
What's your biggest addiction, Diane? Diane was just trying to distract us so she didn't
Yeah.
have to answer the question.
I think so. Yes.
Oh, well, I can't think of one particular food. I would say chapstick. I use chapstick way more than I'm like constantly have to have it with me. Chapstick and water are 2 things I always have to have. So I would say chapstick is my biggest addiction because I can't stand going somewhere and not having it. So
Do you have a favorite flavor?
nope, I don't want any flavor. I
Oh,
just
want the plain.
Oh.
Oh,
plain.
interesting.
And you're gonna laugh, but my favorite one is one they gave us free from our work. They had like the promotional little round. I probably got one here, one there. And it's my favorite. I don't know what I'm gonna do when they're gone, but
Uh-oh.
anyway, I have a
Stock
few,
up.
so I'm okay.
Mhm.
How
But
about you, Dawn? Do you have your biggest?
I mean, I gotta say, so I think in the past, you guys saw behind me the at first coffee at last wine
Hmm.
or first coffee at last wine. So I would say coffee and wine. are my addictions. Yeah, I love those. You wake up with coffee and it like perks you up. I mean, my poor husband, like, heaven forbid he even touched me in the morning before I have coffee. Cause then I'm like, don't touch me. I need coffee.
Yeah.
And then at nighttime, I just like to unwind, not rewind.
Rewind. You rewind all the time. I see you get refills on that wine. But
I unwind with some wine. I don't rewind. Yeah. That would be cool, though. I'd be like a wizard. What about you, Dylan?
so even my children know peanut butter M&Ms.
Mm.
So my kiddo came home from college.
That's up on the list.
Yeah, yesterday, and they had like $50 left because they get like so many like meal bucks they can use outside of the dining hall, and they hadn't used them, so they went to the little like food store and bought $50 worth of candy for everyone in the family and brought home. I got 2 bags of these. So
I think it's super cool that you had it handy right there, like available.
Yeah, they're both right here.
Those are definitely up on my list in the top 5 or 10. So those are
And I
awesome.
haven't opened them yet because as soon as it's opened, they're gone. There is no such thing. You know how they always put like sharing size? Like there's no sharing size. Family size, like no. They're all mine. Once it's open, I'm gonna see how many days. Well, that's evil. No, I'm not. I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna see how many days it takes. I will not report back because now that I'm looking at them, they'll probably all be gone tonight.
Yeah. I
So, yeah,
mean,
I would say that's
both
my
of the bags though, or just one?
just one, probably,
Yeah.
maybe. We'll see.
Okay,
Okay.
so prove it tomorrow.
Yeah. All right. We got to get through the rest of these questions.
Yeah.
All right. Karen wants to know, how many books do you write each year? On average, I guess. Or how many books do you plan to release each year?
I'm
What do
a
you think, Finley?
slower writer, typically 3 full-length books, but this year I'm caught up in all these anthologies, so it's a little more crazy because trying to work in all of it, but there will be 3 still this year somehow, plus the anthologies. I know there's people who can do a book a month, and I'm not that person.
We all go at our own pace.
Yeah.
So how about you, Diane?
That's awesome. I would love to do 3 a year. No, I do. I've been in anthologies lately too. And so I would say I do 1 full length, and I could probably do a novella or so with it. If I have Undivided, I could maybe, I can't do 2 in a year. Not at this point. I'd like to, but I do 1 a year, and probably then like I've done, like last year I did 3 novellas, and this year I've written, not fully finished yet for publishing, but fully drafted a story and a full length and a novella so far.
Nice.
So
That's
I guess
good
it
to
is only
hear.
partway through the year. My best year was 3 in 1 year, but that was when I wasn't working the other job. So
I was going to say, you also like work full time and you have your own business and you're a new grandma.
Yes.
crazy.
Yeah.
So that's why I only
busy.
get about 1 a year out, because I have too many other things going on
So,
to write.
You're busy.
Yeah.
All right. Let me see. We got a couple others.
Dylan, can you please do Dottie's? Dottie doesn't know about us yet.
Getting there. I'm getting there. I'm working my way down.
Okay, all right.
I popped Sarah up on the screen. Finley, why did you pick overseas for places for your books?
I actually have dual citizenship there because of my mother. So to me, it's home. It's not overseas. It is overseas, but it's still home for me. So it's just a big part of my life. I love it. I love I love America too. I don't want to like make people think I'm like that, but it's just my niche. I like it. So
I gotta say, like, you had the Russian in there.
yeah.
I just met the most awesome Russian woman this last like a week and a half ago. We had a friend over and she was from Russia, born and raised, and I was just like, she's amazing. I love her. So
Yeah.
it's like you said that, and I just had these flashbacks of like last week when I was hearing like so many Russian words going
Yes.
through my
Yes.
ears. I loved it.
Yeah.
Loved it. So it's cool, way cool that you have like dual citizenship.
Thanks.
And
Yeah, my
everything.
dad's girlfriend, after my mom passed away, he has a
Yeah.
girlfriend now. He's 89, still like excellent health and brilliant. And he speaks fluent Russian
Yeah.
and Japanese and Chinese, but that's another story. But he speaks fluent Russian, and his girlfriend right now is Russian. So I love
That's
to
pretty
listen
cool.
to her, and I love to
Yeah.
talk with her. She's amazing.
Oh, I know. Like it's so cool. Like, yeah.
Yeah.
I love your experiences already. Like you get,
Oh, thank you.
yeah.
Okay, are you ready?
Yeah, let's do
Dottie would
Dottie's.
like to know,
Dottie doesn't know. She hasn't been here yet. So
how do you work through writer's block when it bears its ugly head? Diane, why don't you give us your take on this first?
When I get stuck, I tend to step back. Like we talked about doing mundane things, sometimes things come to you. So I step back, I take a break and do something else. And I kind of think about the story and think about the character. And then I look back and see, did I go off track of what the character would really do or say? Because normally when I'm stuck, it's because I forced the character to do. I'm a discovery writer. I am not really a plotter. So the character drives my story. And if I put them in a situation that I think would be good, and then I look back and I'm like, that's not right for them, that's normally why I'm stuck. So then I can go back in and change it. And that normally works. So
Yeah,
that's what I do.
definitely understand not forcing characters to do what you want them to do. That's true. Sometimes I just dive into research. I figure I just will, if it's at a certain place or at a certain time or whatever, I'll dive into some research, and sometimes that will spur something. Sometimes I do something as simple. I like to work out, so I go on my rower or on my treadmill and just try not to think about it, and then some stuff just comes. But it's definitely hard. I mean, it's a real thing. I think when you the harder you do push it, I think the more you get in it. So you have to definitely step back. So.
yeah.
Dylann. Which
Dylann.
is super frustrating if you're on a deadline, because
Yeah.
it's like maybe you don't have time for writer's block.
Dylann, how do you deal with writer's block?
So I would say I'm a verbal processor. And so if I'm stuck on something, I will normally use my phone a friend and force someone to kind of talk through things with me. And oftentimes they'll say something that, and most of the time, well, I shouldn't say most of the time because that gives me too much credit, but sometimes actually when I talk about it out loud, I'll even talk to my husband if I'm desperate, who he doesn't know anything or want to know anything about writing or structure or anything like that. But sometimes I'll just talk to him about it if I can't, find anyone else, and he'll just basically sit there and I'll work through it on my own, just by talking out loud.
Yeah.
So, and peanut butter M&Ms help too.
Yeah.
So
Dottie, I'm going to answer Dottie's question. She has, or not question, but comment. She said, did she do something wrong? You did not. The running joke here is when you have writer's block, when in doubt, insert a beaver.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So
I understand where you were going with that now, Dawn. That was my advice to you. Yeah.
Yes, that was Dylan's advice to me when I had writer's block and I was writing a logging book. Dylann said, when in doubt, insert a beaver, and it has always worked for me since then. And she happens to have, those who are regulars here know, Dylann has nuisance beavers. So we do have
on the lake. Where the
on the lake,
is.
right? On the lake with the cabin.
Beaver on my own, Dawn. Can we clarify that? Please?
Sure. I mean, hey, listen, I gotta say, Dylann, I love you. So, in this book that I just wrote and turned into be
editor,
published here,
agent,
to be
publisher?
published. I had massive writer's block the whole time, so I kept thinking, when in doubt, insert a beaver. And she just happened to be like a an animal rescue person. So the guy comes down, she lives in the apartment below him, and she's got a beaver in his bathtub. So the thing in my mind was like, you've got a beaver in your bathtub, and so that's
Why was there a beaver in the bathtub?
you got to read the book to find out,
Okay.
right?
I was just looking because I normally have Lindy, the beaver that Linda sent
I
me,
know.
usually here,
Yeah.
but she's actually hanging out with Baby Back right now, the
Gotcha.
pig, and so they're not right here.
So,
I have Chloe the goat, and I have the
oh my
bat, but
gosh.
I don't have
And but where's your
Sorry, Dawn, I didn't
sexy
even
cowboy?
like you totally like queued that up for me, and I didn't even take.
I know.
I didn't even
I
run with the
know.
beaver.
I was like,
I
oh, she's
forgot.
really answering this.
I forgot. I forgot.
So yes, when in doubt, Dottie, insert a beaver.
That's
'Cause
true.
as a romance author, you can't go wrong either way. Either you're writing a
is-
logging book or you're a romance author, and you
That
just
is true.
insert a beaver. You're good to go. So
All right. Gosh, I don't know. Do we have time for one more? I don't know.
yeah, we did.
Oh my, there's way too many. Oh, I'm sorry, Linda. Linda misses seeing Lindy. You know what? I will bring Lindy back next time, or I'll post a picture with Lindy because yeah. You know what? We're spreading the beaver love because Karen put Bob the Beaver in her story. I don't know. It's all about the beavers. Okay. Let's I guess wrap it up by here. Sarah has one more question. Who is your favorite author? When you are reading, what Diane, why are you shaking your head?
Because I can't pick one.
Okay. And I hate using the term favorite. Who is one of your favorite authors who maybe you think not enough people read? So like don't give us Nora Roberts. I mean, we all love Nora Roberts, but like somebody that maybe other people, haven't heard of or haven't read yet.
Man, I'm terrible at that because I'll read books and I have my go-tos when I really want someone I know I'm gonna love, like Ronnie Lauren or something like that. But yeah, I
You
don't
can
have
say
like
Ronnie Lauren, that's fine.
okay, because I don't have really like a no name. I'm just reading Tessa Bailey's right now, and they're really good too. So, but yeah, I don't really have a favorite. I mean, yeah, there's a lot of people that have. I sometimes like when I had time last summer, I read a bunch of books by authors I didn't know. I literally looked at the genres and I was doing some were comps, some were just different ones that I liked. And I found some that I thought were really good. And if you ask me what their name is right now, I'm sorry, I can't tell you. I did like Hope Ford was one of them. I liked hers. I'm trying to think. Yeah, I don't know if there's. I mean, that's a few that I've read that I like, but I don't.
No,
I don't have
that's a good answer.
Yeah,
you gave us some. Finley
right.
looks like she's worried now. She's like,
I am. Well, I'm gonna give you a few
on the spot.
No, right now, and I'm like, Dan, there's just so many authors I would definitely put up there, but I'm not put up necessarily a big one. But his name's Stuart McBride. He's a Scottish author, and he writes like cop drama, not romance. I mean, these are just like kind of definitely entrenched in cop, but he has one. It's a great series, Logan McRae, and it's just a great series. So I'm gonna put that out there. But it's hard. I have so many. So.
Well, and I think we all have so many, which is why, to say who's your favorite makes it really hard because again, I mean, it's like picking, your favorite kid, and some of you like maybe only have one kid, so that makes it easier. But yeah, it's picking, I don't know, picking your favorite author is like picking your favorite dog.
Oh, for Dylann. Yeah, she's got a couple of favorite dogs.
That would be easy in my case too. The big one is being a big she's being naughty lately. Who is one of your favorite authors, Dawn?
I mean, I think we know Jane Austen is my absolute favorite. Like
okay, but you know what? I'm pretty sure like Jane Austen doesn't need help getting the word out about her books.
I know.
She's on my list.
Who's one of your like favorite authors or someone that you've read lately that you've enjoyed that, maybe other people haven't heard about?
Oh God, I don't know, because like my other one's Linda Lil Miller. Because Linda Lil Miller is actually the one who got me really writing. Like my husband said write these books, and then I had a chat with Linda Lil Miller, a Facebook chat when Facebook was like a baby, you
Mhm.
know. And she said join RWA, because I said I'm an aspiring author, what should I do? She said join RWA, and I did, and that's
The
how it
rest
took
is
off
history.
from there. Yeah. I mean, Linda and Brenda Novak. I mean, they're both
I thought you talked to Jody
amazing.
Thomas.
Jody Thomas blurbed for me. She
Oh,
did. Yeah,
okay.
I
I
love
thought it was
Jody
Jody
Thomas too.
Thomas that you met that
Oh
you
my God, Jody
that got you
Thomas. I
into.
love her. Yeah, I love
Yep.
Jody. But yeah. Oh gosh, yeah.
Got it.
All of them. I mean, and then Lee Greenwood, he was good too. Like he's a romance author, but he's a male. But he's a American historical romance author. And
I
he
have not
just
heard of him.
no, but his books are amazing. So I
Awesome.
would say Lee Greenwood, but he's back in like 20 years ago kind of
Okay.
style. So yeah.
Well, and two that I just read, I had not read Alexa Rivers or Stacey Travis, and I read both of them recently for because they're both in the Romance Happy Hour book box that's coming out,
Oh my
and
gosh. I love Alexa.
I really enjoyed it. Her book's set in New Zealand, and there's
Mhm.
a firefighter and an American movie star, and it was really good. I liked that. And then Stacey Travis's soccer sports and sports romance is always fun. So,
Yeah, for sure.
and they were kind of like a, I don't know, brother's best friend almost, not really second chance, but
Mhm.
steamy. So, yeah. I
Nice.
like both of them. And then I feel like, gosh, I'm trying to think of who else I've read recently that I don't know. I wish I had more time to read. I think as authors, it's like you want to make sure you're still reading, but then it's hard to find the time to continue, to
Mhm.
keep up with reading. And so, yeah,
Yeah.
that's something that I'm hoping that I'll get more time this summer to read. We'll see.
Yeah.
We're out of time, Dawn. We've gone over per the usual. So we probably need to wrap up. So Diane and Finley, I know you both have books up on a giveaway that's over on the Romance Happy Hour Facebook page. We will leave that open. I don't know if you have a copy of what you're giving away. I know, Diane, you showed us earlier an e-copy of Suspect My Heart and Stripped. What is it?
Stripped. It's the first book in the watch. I
Oh,
read
in
from
the
the
watch.
second book.
Okay. I was like, it
This
says
is
the
the
watch,
first
but that's the series. Yes.
Yeah.
So we got both of those up for grabs on the Facebook page. We'll leave that open through Sunday night. And do you want to tell people real quick, just where is the best place to connect with you? So,
For me, I would say newsletter. So DianeWiggs.com or Facebook, Diane Wiggs author. Those are probably the two places I'm the most. So
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
I agree.
Great.
Definitely newsletter, authorfinleybrown.com. You can go to my website and sign up for my newsletter there. And Finley Brown on Facebook, definitely. You can check me out there too.
All
and
right.
Instagram.
Sounds good. And I see Sarah is filling up the comments with other authors that she
Yeah.
has read and enjoyed. So if anybody else who's watching has other suggestions on authors that you don't hear a whole lot about, but you absolutely love, pop them in the comments. We'd love to hear that. And then Dawn will be back.
Yeah. 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be here. Where are you gonna be? Are you gonna be
I'll be here too.
You're not gonna be at a conference?
No, I'm going to Texas to visit my mom and my sister, and but I leave on that Sunday, so I'll be here for the show.
Okay, yeah. I just had to look because 2 weeks from now is like right before kind of Memorial Day weekend.
Yes.
Yeah. I'll be here, but then I'm going to leave after that to camping. So
Okay.
I'll be here Thursday though.
Sounds good. All right. Well, we'll be
Okay.
here. We hope you'll be here.
I will.
All right.
Thank you so much for having
Thank
us.
you.
Yes, thank you. It was a really
Absolutely.
fun time.
Nice to meet
Thanks
you.
for joining us. It was a
you.
lot of fun. We told you it would go fast. And
Yeah.
so, all right. And
All
thanks to everybody else for joining us too.
Yep.
Thank you.
See you later.